Okay, let's do another example together. Okay, they give us another function that is not in vertex form. So I can't just do my shifts left and right. I'm going to have to actually use the axis of symmetry, find my vertex, and find my y-intercept. So the very first thing I want to do is I want to make a list. Okay, so I need to find my A, my B, and I need to find my C. So let's make a list, A, B, and C. So my A is hooked to the x squared. So in this case, the number that's hooked to x squared is -4. My B is going to be hooked to the x with the single power, so it's -12. And C is going to be the constant that's by itself, and in this case, that would be -3. Now, I need to decide, is this going to be a happy or a sad parabola? Well, in this case, I'm going to look for the number that is hooked to x squared, which is always going to be my A. If it's positive, it's happy. If it's negative, it's sad. In this case, it's negative, okay? So I find my x squared, or I can look here at my list. My A is negative, therefore it's sad, and sad face opens downward. Okay. The next thing it's asking me to do is to find my axis of symmetry. Okay, so I'm going to do x equals -b all over 2a. So I'm going to substitute in for b, and I'm going to substitute in for a. So I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite this with my negative already there and my 2 already there. Those are not going to change. What I'm going to insert is b. Okay, so b is -12. And A is -4. And now I just have to do some simplifying. So a negative times a negative on top makes a +12. 2 times -4 makes a -8. And I can reduce this. Okay, so I get to the end, I'm going to reduce this. And I know some of you are probably wondering, does it matter if I keep my negative on the bottom, or do I need to move it to the top? What happens? You just move it out front. If a fraction is negative on the top or the bottom, the whole entire fraction is negative. So we could reduce this by 4, so it becomes 3/2. Or we could think of this as -1.5. That is my axis of symmetry. So let's go over here and let's draw this. So -1.5. Okay, there's my axis of symmetry. I know my vertex has to be on this line. Okay, so we've already learned that. It has to be on that line. So I know that x equals -1.5. We already know that because it has to be on that line. So my x value has to be -1.5. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug that into our original equation. So I've got -4x squared minus 12x minus 3. So every time I come across an x, I am going to replace it with 1.5. So here we go. I'm just going to rewrite -4. Oh, there's my parentheses. -1.5 squared minus 12. Oh, parentheses again. So I'm going to do -1.5 minus 3. Okay, so this one looks a little bit harder than the one that we did earlier. So doing this one in our heads probably not going to be an option. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put this in. So -4, we have parentheses, -1.5, close them, and we're going to square it. Minus 12, oh, parentheses again, -1.5, close them, minus 3. Okay. At this time, we're going to hit enter, and we got 6. Okay. So we plugged in an x, and our output is y. Okay, so x equals 1.5, y equals 6. Now we have our coordinate. sorry, negative 1.5. Negative 1.56. Now, if we've done this correctly, it should land on our vertex, or on our line of symmetry. I'm going to put this in blue so it stands out a little bit more. This is our vertex. All right, so negative 1.56. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sure enough, and it lands on our line of symmetry. Now, we got to look at this and figure out where our y-intercept is going to be. So we said we locate our y-intercept is going to be C. There is our C. We also have it written here. C is negative 3. So on the y-axis, since it's a y-intercept, 1, 2, 3. Now, knowing what we know about parabolas and that they're symmetric, if this is 1.5 away, then I'm going to have 1.5 away on the other side. And this makes sense considering at the very end, or at the very beginning, we talked about that this was going to be a sad parabola. So it's going to be downward. Okay, so our y-intercept is, okay, which is our y-intercept. So what you're going to do for your homework tomorrow is you are going to, on page 72, you're going to work problems 5 through 7, 15 through 23. I want to see all of this work labeled and your graphs labeled.